What's up, everybody? I am just doing some firmware work here. Nothing fancy. Just wanted to pop on the live stream. I do have Discord tied in, so if you want to jump into Discord, you can. But you will have to join the link in the description. This is going to be a very casual stream. If you want to ask me questions, you can. I may or may not answer them. Let me switch over here. So I'm just testing out the new code here. This is running the 207 release, which came out about, I don't know, 12 hours ago, if that. So I'm just trying to get this working here. So, hi, Aaron. Huh?
Are you on stream right now?
Yeah, I'm just testing firmware here. Let's see if this works. So this was not working earlier. Oh, that just went ravel.
Oh, someone's getting written off.
Oh no! My film. Yeah, let me just post a. Let me just post a thing on the Facebook groups about how the filament came tangled when I just did it myself. Oh no! So let's see. The filament sensor should trigger. There it goes. Okay, so it triggered. Let me just untangle this damn roll here. It's the best way to glue PLA together. I like 3D glue personally. That's what I use. That's what I keep in my toolbox. Okay, so it's waiting for the filament to be put back in. So now that I've detangled it, this is what happens. I was careless and let the end go. And this is just my test printer. This Ender 3 literally exists. If you notice, it's stock. It still has a stock build plate down there. I'm not a fan of it, but it works for testing. If this was one I used for actual prints, I would have the Easy Flex on here. So let's see. So it unloaded, detected that it ran out. So let me snip this. So when you guys do a filament change, this is what you want to do. You snip it at the tip, so I pulled it out, snip it, and you see it's got kind of a curve? Straighten that sucker out, okay? Straighten it out. And if you notice here, the nozzle temp dropped, so, and that's fine. It's gonna go into a standby mode, so I'm gonna put it back through the sensor. Easy out sensors, they just hang out on the filament, nothing special. Put it back into the extruder. Feed it in. Sometimes you gotta play with it. This is the stock plastic one. I hate these things. Let's see. I was having an issue where now what you want to do is see how I'm feeding it in. I'm feeding it in until it stops, okay? So it stopped. I'm gonna go ahead and hit press button. Now it's gonna heat the nozzle. So it says, see it says here, nozzle heating, please wait. Now this was not working correctly on 206.1. It would stop it, but sometimes it wouldn't resume correctly. And the change filament feature from the LCD wasn't working. That is working in 207 right now, which is something that was patched. I don't ever use the I don't ever use like the change filament feature from the LCD menu, which is why I didn't know it was broken. I literally just heat my nozzle and change it manually. I never use that feature, but some people do. But the new version will work. Let's see here. But what was happening was after I did a filament change, it would go back and continue printing. However, this screen wouldn't disappear. I'm going to see if it'll do it again. I did record a video of it being stuck there while it was still printing. And I hate this stock extruder on here. Alright, so it should go from heating to then it'll purge it out. So we're almost at temp. We're at 208 to 210. There you go. Insert filament, press button to continue. Okay, my filament's already in. It's coming out here. So usually what I like to do is I'll just kind of hold this and make sure it just comes away from the nozzle so it doesn't bunch up, okay? So it'll purge, I believe it's set to like 20 or 30 millimeters. Okay, so because I got filament here, I'm gonna go ahead and hit continue. If you don't have filament coming out, you wanna hit purge more. So, but I have filament here. Now, last time I did purge more, so let's try it again. I'm gonna try to replicate that same state. So, purge more. That should purge the length again. Should be done in a sec here. Alright, so I'm going to hit continue. This is what I did last time. So it said nozzle heating, please wait, and it never left this screen last time. Which is what it's... Oh, there it goes. Okay, so I don't know if that was just a glitch or what, but last time it did not go away from that screen. So I don't know if that was just a one-time thing or if I'm going to be able to replicate that again. Because I'm going to show you on video. I took a video of it because I'm like, I want to see if this actually... let's see here. So here, I'll show you guys. Okay, so I just did a filament change. You can see it's printing. But it still says filament change. And the LCD is non-responsive, it looks like. See what happens when I take the SD out. So, yeah, it didn't work literally the first time I tried it. Obviously it just worked now, so that's good. There's always weird little quirks, and yes, I did reset my EEPROM. Did I ever find a way to put Marlin on the ET5X? Not yet, but it is on, well, the ET4 and 5 use the same thing, but it is literally on my to-do list right here, ANET ET4 firmware. Problem with that is you guys are going to have a fun time, you ANET users. I do have these little ST-Link devices here. You can find these on eBay, Amazon, but we'll also be carrying them. This is what you'll need to put firmware on your ANET, and you always will have to use this to flash the firmware unless ANET comes out with a bootloader for it. I'm not a big fan of this, but once your firmware is on there, I guess you're not updating all the time. Well, I don't anyways. But ANET did release information on putting Marlin on their printers. I have not gotten around to it yet. So one other thing people said wasn't working, which I haven't tested yet, so let's see if it works. Let me put my feed rate back down. I had it set to 150 to complete the first layer quicker. I'm literally just making sure this prints. This has got our easy board in it. This is a stock Ender 3 Pro. Otherwise, it's got the easy board in here with our Unified 2, and this is the 2.1 version, which is not released yet, hence why I'm testing it. Literally spent all morning merging code. Alright, so let's see. People said that they hit stop print on the last version, it wouldn't work. So I'm going to hit stop print, stop, and it should home XY. Okay, so that's fixed in 207. Print aborted, okay. So I got motion, disable steppers. There we go. Come on, don't tear the mat. This mat, I've only got like 6 prints on this, and the mat is already like bubbling up in the middle. Whatever. Did it resume correctly? It did. No lost steps. Actually, come on, Logitech, you gonna actually focus? This camera we're using to look at the printer right now is the Logitech Brio. And of course, I use white filament, but no, it's actually printing really well. I might actually throw Easy Flex on here because this magnetic thing is like, it's like a floppy penis. Like, and you can see here, like, that's where I just did a couple prints. It's already starting to bubble up. That's why I don't like these. It's not just because I sell a competing product. It's that these just don't last very long. Here. All right, let's have this run an actual full print. While it's doing that, print Benchy, yes, print Benchy.g code. Benchy.g code. Now I like to preheat my nozzle as well as the bed, so I just manually do that. So that way it starts the print sooner. But everything's looking pretty good on Marlin 207, which is what the unified version that's on this printer right now is running. I just need to run some more prints on here and make sure it's actually working. I don't believe, well, I'm doing a print, so I'm not going to see that. I am going to bring the PID menu back for printers that actually have the memory. So like the Easy Board has the memory. We got 0.5 mega RAM, or not RAM, but program memory on here. The other board, so this is another board that I have. This one I have just for testing. This is what was in this printer before I started today, because I was working on the 1284p firmware. But these have 128K memory, so you're not going to have as many fancy features as like with the Easy Board, because there's just not enough memory on here. So there have to be some concessions made in what goes on here. But this board goes in and out. This printer, there's not even a cooling fan on here. The bottom isn't even on here for this machine. I can't move that because it's going to hit things. But this printer literally is just for development work. I don't actually use this for printing anything useful. But yeah, hopefully, let's see. So we moved around to the configuration menu. So if you go to configuration now, instead of, I might get rid of this advanced menu because this takes up extra space. But before you would have initialize EEPROM and it would be in this menu. Instead, now I've moved it to it's right here, and it's called reset EEPROM instead of initialize, because most people have no idea what initialize means. So I renamed it in the firmware. So it says reset. Apparently my profile has the nozzle temp set to 230, which I don't need for this PLA. There we go, we're purging out. And I do have, even though there's no ABL on here, I do have baby stepping Z. And I haven't re-leveled the bed, but I know I need to go down 0.15. I hate manual leveling. This one's been pretty decent. Oh god. It sticks it down. Like I said, I just use this for testing. This is literally a stock Ender 3 with exception of the board has our board in it. Those fans are so loud. I don't have our fans in it yet. I do have, since I do have this new machine. Where are they? Oh, right here. I do have these are the 24 volt 40s. I am going to make a video on swapping these out on the hot end and the bottom. And then this is our replacement fan for the layer fan. So I'm going to do a video using this machine since it's stock, showing you how to replace the fans with the quick connectors that are included in our fans, and then removing those and soldering them with heat shrink in case you do have a soldering iron and heat shrink available. The quick connects are great for quickly replacing your fan, and they do work even over time, but I do prefer still to actually crimp, or not crimp, but solder and heat shrink my wires. But for your average person, it's perfectly fine to use the quick connectors, which is why we include them. So what else was I going to work on here? Let me go to my forum post. So let's see, Unified Firmware 2, bug tracking and feature requests. So Filament change not working, that is working now. Stopping SD print does not stop print, that's fixed in the new 207 base version. Rename initialize to reset, that's already done. Remove SD init fail on boot, that's done. Organize config menu to bring EEPROM to main page, that's done. PID auto tune from the LCD menu, that's done as well. Enter 3 extender 300 option for easy board, that's done. I think that's actually all the feature requests. And I'll show you guys here. Oh wait, fade. There we go. Okay. Sorry, I have like studio mode on for oh, look at that. I can actually like, oh, that's neat. I didn't know that's what that little slider thing did. Today I learned. Huh. I did not know that. I learned something today about OBS. So there's fade, okay. Anyways, add the print history for the about printer screen. That just takes up memory. There's no point to that. And plus, it gets reset every time you reset the EEPROM. It literally doesn't matter. I never enable that feature because it's literally useless. You clear your EEPROM and your print history and your time is gone. So there's no point to it. It literally just is another thing to take up memory. Okay, so I added this, updating Unified 2 to Marlin 207 baseline. That's what I'm testing right now. Filament change not working. That's working now. Will be fixed on updated 207 base. That's confirmed to work now. Stopping SD print does not stop print. That is working in the 207 base, which is what I'm testing right now. PID auto tune from the LCD menu. So I did add this in, and you can see here if Space Saver is disabled, you will get the PID edit menu and the auto tune menu. The reality of the situation is, no matter how much you ask me to put it in, it's not going to change the fact that some boards just don't have memory to have all these additional menus, especially once you start turning on things like bed leveling. So just to give you an idea here, so this is compiled for our easy board here. So you can see I'm using 37.6% of the flash memory. This is with ABL disabled, and we're only using half the RAM. So we got a lot of memory and a lot of RAM on this board, which is why I like these NXP processors. So plenty of headroom. The BigTreeTech boards do not have this. And those of you guys that want to say you can flash a BigTreeTech board to 512K, well, the actual Marlin team has said that they've had printers locking up with the heaters on. So if you want to burn your house down with a BigTreeTech board, then yes, you have 512K, but they're not 512K chips. So end of discussion right there. But because we have a higher end processor on here, we have 0.5 meg of memory. But let me show you what happens when you turn ABL on. So I don't have any space saving features on the EZ board because we don't need to. We have the memory and the RAM. So let me just enable bed leveling. Okay, so the EZ ABL. So let me just build that. So we are at, just take a screenshot here. Okay, so we got that screenshot. That's where we're at with no bed leveling. So you guys can see the impact to the memory usage. So let me compile this. My video might get a little choppy because Platform IO is going to go, hey, that's a lot of nice CPU threads you got there, and just gobble them all up. I got your sticker, Jerry. It's on my printer enclosure that's got your head right there. A lot of people actually lost their wrenches on the channel, so I got a little liberal with them when we were starting out. So Blazeby 3DRC, that's Tor, Tyler West. Okay, so here. So if we look here, our memory usage, our actual RAM didn't go up that much, but we went up from 178,660 bytes to 196,788 bytes with bed leveling turned on, okay, for this board. Now, let me go ahead and turn some other features on. So let's do some other stuff. Let's enable what's going to take up more space. Linear advance is going to take up more space. So let's turn on linear advance, and then we'll show you what that looks like. So where were we at? Let me take a screenshot of that. So this is just turning bed leveling on. Oh god, I'm getting laggy. Laggy to the point where ShareX was not happy. Maybe I need to buy a Threadripper for this system now. This 9900K just ain't cutting it anymore. You should just enable the if you set it as a CR10S, it sets the correct amperage. You should be, I believe, you're run 1000 on the current for those. I have the firmware up right here, so I could tell you. Z driver. Wait, Z current. There we go. Yep, right here. So you can see here on the EZ board, if you have the dual Z motor option enabled, which gets enabled by default when if you define a CR10S, it's going to put the current up to 1000 and 700 for a single. You don't need to double it. You can if you want to, but it's not needed. 1000 works fine for 2Z motors on the Crealities. You got to remember then the one motor is not, when you have two motors, they're the versus single, the motors are not doing as much work as one motor would be, so you don't need as much current. So you can if you want, but this has been tested and works. Okay, so let's see. I enabled linear advance, and what do we got? We should have a little bit higher usage on both the RAM and the program memory, which we do. So we went from 196,788 to 199,364 on the program memory, and then our memory went from 16,680 to 16,848. So you can see as you add every little extra option, it increases the footprint of the firmware on your board, which is why having a beefy CPU is nice. I should be able to now, when you do a, let's do this. So when you do a BLTouch with our firmware, you set it as a custom probe, and then you're going to want to put your offsets. So I'm just going to leave it at the 1010. We're just going to put some imaginary offsets in here. But I just want to show you. So the footprint for the hang on, I lost my my screen captures here. So did I just close those out? I think I did. Oh, except I still have them here. Okay, so linear advance, this is linear advance with the EZ ABL. Okay, this is the footprint. Now the BLTouch requires more settings and more memory. So let me go ahead and enable the BLTouch here. Let's see if this compiles. I haven't test compiled the BLTouch yet, so let's test compile it right now and see if I broke anything when I updated. And my watch is telling me, how about a walk? Because I've been sitting here working on code for a couple hours now. So this is currently compiling for the same exact options that we had with the BLTouch, or with the Easy ABL, except with BLTouch, and we should see higher program memory usage and possibly slightly higher RAM usage. Program memory is the one that really kind of kills everything and determines how many features you can have enabled. Okay, so you can see here with the Easy ABL, here, let me go to the screenshot. So with the Easy ABL, we were using 199,364 bytes, and the memory is negligible. But the BLTouch, because you have all these additional routines and options and menus to operate the BLTouch, because it has to deploy the probe pin and retract it, that requires extra code. We went up from 199,364 to 201,820. So it may not seem like a big deal for this board because we have the memory, but on other boards you're getting really, really close to the limitations of how much you can fit on there. So let me make a copy. I'm going to close this out here. I'm going to make a copy of this firmware, and I'm going to copy for the let me try the SKR Mini, because the SKR Mini's firmware, because it's STM32, those same options compile larger for the what's the word I'm looking for? Help me out here, chat. For the SKR E3 boards. So let me say 207 E3 Mini test. And let me pull up GitHub here, pull a copy of this. So if you ever pull down from our GitHub, let me just copy these. And I'm pasting this into, I'm not gonna, I don't want to show you guys my like folders and crap for my computer, so I'm just copying the path. And let's do a test compile for the E3. Because even though we don't sell or recommend this board, I still want to make sure the firmware that we have out here actually works for it, unlike the company that actually makes this board. Alright, let's see. Let's see if I broke anything when I updated to 207. Let's see. I'm willing to bet there's... Yep, I was going to say I'm willing to bet there's going to be... Oh, did they... They might have... Oh, I'm an idiot. I forgot to... Uncomment your board version, Tim. Stop being an idiot. Read your own directions. I still think it's probably going to fail compile. Let's see. You guys think it's going to fail compile? I have not test compiled for the SKR with our firmware with the 207 Marlin base. I've only tested with the Easy board, which is what's on this printer right here that's printing. Maybe let me add that camera here. Video capture device, add existing, Brio, okay. Oh no. That looks terrible. Hi, Joel.
Hello.
How are you doing, Joel?
Streaming?
No, I'm just talking to myself.
Oh.
There we go. So you guys can not be completely bored. You can have an overhead view of the printer printing. Hang on, let me see. Transform. Can I zoom? Can I zoom in? I think I can zoom in. Oh, look at that. It actually compiled. It's amazing. I was not expecting that. sometimes I surprise myself. Alright, here, I'm going to do like a little cropped in version of this so you guys can, boom, there you go. So while we're talking code, you can still watch the printer printing. How's that? Alright, so let's see. So, just with, and this is to do with, the only thing I can think of is it's to do with how the STM firmware compiles versus the LPC. I feel like the STM is not as well optimized. With no other fancy options in it. So these are the same options as the Easy board with just base. So this is literally just a stock. This would be for a stock Ender 3 with the SKR E3 Mini V1. We're using 228,868 bytes. For comparison, if I open up the Easy board one, so let me just show you what the Easy board looks like compiled with just for a stock printer. So no fancy options, no additions, nothing. And I actually never noticed how big of a disparity there is between how much memory is used for the Easy board by Marlin versus the SKR. So looks like Marlin is not as efficient at using the using memory on the SKR versus the Easy board, and that comes down to the processor. So the SKR uses the STM F103 RCT6, and we're using the LPC 1769 from NXP. So two completely different companies that are making the processor here. So, and this is the same firmware. We're using the same exact firmware, same options. I'm compiling for an Ender 3 versus for an Ender 3 with no additional options on here. So this is just Ender 3, no ABL, no linear advance, nothing. So linear advance is disabled. And we're using 228,868 bytes on the BigTreeTech board. And what are we using on the Easy board? We're using only 177,744 bytes. That's a big difference. What's that a difference in? Because that's substantial. Especially when you're talking the BigTreeTech board only has 256K of memory, and we're using roughly 228K. So 228,868 subtract from 177,744. That's a 50K difference that Marlin uses on the BigTreeTech STM32 baseboard versus the LPC. So the code for the STM32 is not as efficient as the LPC. That's wild. I never noticed that until literally right now when we were talking about the sizes. Let's see how it is on the 1.2 board. So let me just take a screenshot here. This will be, I'm just going to make a note here. So V1.0. And let's see what this uses. So that saved a screenshot here. So open file. Image glass. Come on. There we go. So that's the version 1. Let's see if it's more efficient on the 2. Now they all use the same processor. Now the version 1.2, I don't believe that one has the EEPROM chip on it. We're emulating EEPROM, but we're only using 4K to emulate EEPROM on these SKR boards because they don't have dedicated EEPROM on that processor. And we're using part of the program memory on the LPC as well, but you're only using 4K. This is a 51K, roughly 51K difference. Let's say 50K. Oh, why did we fail? Why did we fail build? Wait, we overflowed? How? How did this compiled on 2061? How are we overflowing on the memory now? Let me clean out my build folder. These are both baseline configs, meaning just Ender 3 stock. Hey, what's up, Red Light? Joel's here with me. Red Light's Mike, who we went and met. That one, I would do the G-Tex next. That one, I mean, you can go ahead and get that one working, because that's when I was going to do firmware on.
Oh, okay.
So have fun with that.
The power splicing's dead.
Yeah, it's an ANET. That's probably why the guy gave me a second power supply with it. Okay, how are we? So compiling for the 1.2 SKR E3 Mini, we're now overflowing. That's weird. That's really weird. Why are we... Why are we overflowing now? We compiled for the V1. The V1.2 should be similar. I guess they did add more stuff onto the V1.2 and they changed things around, but why is this failing to build now for the 1.2? Let's see if it'll build for the 2.0. Go ahead and close this one out. Maybe that's affecting. I doubt it. They should be operating out of their own folders. Now, 2.0 has its own EEPROM chip. Whether Marlin is actually using that EEPROM chip or not, instead of doing emulation, that's another story. I haven't looked at it that closely. This is failing to build too. Will not fit. Okay, so you can see here, RO data. So the data will not fit into region ROM. Why? Is it doing with the V1? If it's doing with the V1 now, that means there's something up with VS Code. And the thing is, if I'm having this issue, other people that are using these BigTreeTech boards are going to be having this issue as well. So it compiled for the V1, but it's not compiling for the 1.2 or the 2.0. Which is really weird. I would expect it to compile for the 2.0 and fail on the 1 and the 2 because the 2 has its own EEPROM chip. So let's do this. Maybe I merged the code incorrectly. I'm not sure. But we're going to double check that right now. So I got Marlin 207 here. This is a zip I pulled down this morning. I'm going to work printer firmware. And we're going to go ahead and do a comparison between these two. Yeah, I mean, if I'm having issues compiling for this with the same exact options, then other people are going to be having problems too with those boards, which sucks for them. Hopefully, if I can figure something out. Okay, so there's a folder for that. And I got my Marlin 207 in here. That should be good to compare. Yep, okay, so from IO, that should be different. Everything else should be the same, essentially. I did update the platform IO files. Yeah. I don't know why WinMarch highlights that whole file. Let's see. So these should be different. I know that these are different. Those should be. I do have now, for those of you that were wondering, like, well, what files do we modify from the core Marlin? In the firmware folder, there is a core file changes core file change list.md file, and this will display on GitHub. So these are the files these are files that we've modified that outside of like your standard configuration files that we've made changes to out of the core Marlin files. So I'm putting this here so in case people want to reference it, they can, but this is mostly for myself, so I know when I'm merging the new version of Marlin into our code base, I have a list of what files I've made tweaks and adjustments to. So these are the files that should be showing changes, ignoring the configuration files. I'm going to go ahead and put my, I'm going to exit Teams here so no messages pop up on there. So anyway, so we should have dwin menu, 2 menu files, language, and the 2 pins files, so and the version. So we're saying those are changed. The menu, language, dwin, core, oh yeah, core language.h, I forgot I modified that one too. So let me actually add that in. So Marlin, that's source core. So I'm going to go ahead and put, oh god. So core, source core, language.h, and I'm going to control K to make that look nice like that. Okay. Alright, so I knew there was one other file. But as you can see, aside from these files that I specifically have listed, those are showing changes. Now, obviously, we're ignoring the configuration H files. Don't do this now, dog. Dog. The dog is being needy. I have a dog head in my lap. She's going to try to climb my lap soon. So I could disable some of these options here. So I could do this and disabled. I think I have an option. Well, let's just do this in the configuration ADV. So if I pull up configuration ADV, oh, you know what? Well, if you have an SKR board, you're not going to have, you're probably not going to have the PID auto tune. Let's see. I'm willing to bet, because here's the thing. I added this in from our 2061 version, and this is going to increase the footprint of the firmware quite a bit, actually. So I believe I have it. So if any of these boards are defined, okay, so it defines this. So Scott said use these, but I've been having issues with some of these, like ethers not working. I don't know if it's just me. But I'm going to go ahead and just patch that. Okay, so I have this value. So if it's an SKR, this gets defined. So I can now use this to like do if then else's or whatever. So sorry, SKR users. Let's see. We need to make space. So we're at, just to show you guys the impact this has. So this will only define these options if these are disabled. So space saver and this has to be disabled. Okay, if either of these are enabled, this doesn't happen inside these. So you can see they're grayed out because we have this enabled here. So we're at 228,868 bytes. 228,868. Oh wait, I have this up already, don't I? Yep, 228,868. All right, so I usually, sometimes I'll like to clear this out. So if you hit the little trash can down here on the left, that'll clean out your build folder. And it'll basically just give you a fresh one to start with. I probably forgot to uncomment something. Yep. I forgot to uncomment the board version. Clara, go lay down. Go. Go lay down. You know, she barely does this when I'm working. It's only if I'm streaming. It's like she knows I'm streaming. Fine. Okay, we're waiting for this compiler. Hi. There we go. We got dog. Then we got a dog. Hi. Hi. Yes. Like, why? You don't do this when I'm just working, but if you hear me talking to people, I don't know if she like sees the microphone or the lights or whatever, or it's just because I'm talking to my computer, but yeah, she rarely ever does this when I'm just working. Okay, so now we're at 227.44, so we did reduce the footprint a decent amount by stripping those out. So what is that, 1,000K roughly? 228,868, so like 1,400K roughly we just saved. Okay, Dog, get down. Oh my god. All right, so we saved some memory. So let's see if it's gonna compile for the 1.1. So we have Marlin is inefficient with the STM32 chips, so it takes up more memory versus the LPCs. So, and on top of that, the chip on this board is half the memory of the Easy board. So the Easy board's code for Marlin is more efficient than the BigTreeTech's, and we have more memory. So it's like a double whammy against these BigTreeTech boards. I knew there was a reason I like the LPCs. I don't know why. I'm just partial to LPCs. The STM32s do have some extra stuff like floating point features built into it, but we're not even using it. Okay, look at it. We compiled now. So it was a PID auto-tune. So the space is that tight on these boards. But we're compiling now. So I'm going to have to merge that line in. So if you have an SKR A3 and you're using our firmware, you do not get a PID menu. You got to do it through the G code because your board is not as good as the Easy board. Well, it's really the processor, well, and the board, but in this context, it's basically just the let's update that. I lost my train of thought. Anyways, Easy board's got more memory, and Marlin's more efficiently uses the space better on the LPC chips. So it means we can fit a lot of shit on the Easy board versus the BigTreeTech boards. Now the Creality boards have a 512K STM32, so I'd be curious to see if their footprint is larger too, because it's the same series chip. They have the STM32 F103R ET6, which is a 512K SKU, whereas BigTreeTech is using the STM32 F103R CT6. I like to say that the C stands for cheap, because the 256K model is the cheaper version. So you could have double the memory on your SKR E3 board, but BigTreeTech wanted to save 40 cents. So 40 cents is what halved your memory on that board. Let that sink in. 40 whole cents. Yeah. Alright, so what I need to do is merge this one line in here. So I need to merge this in. So put this in. So as long as this is disabled, so I need to merge that code change in. And let's go ahead and configure the config files. I don't think I made any changes to config files, but I gotta go to, so this is going between my test folder and my GitHub folder. This is the kind of stuff I do behind the scenes, so I just figured I'd pop a stream on and do that. So I just made this change. It's not a big deal, but we're gonna merge that in. And now I'm going to go ahead and commit that to my testing branch. So I have a branch on our repo called 20x-marlin 207 update-staging. So this is not, it's accessible. You guys could go download it, but it's not officially done. That's why literally I'm testing it right now as you're watching. We're doing it live. SKRE3 mini board updates. All right. So there we go. So what I need to make sure, this is what I do. So this code is actually in a folder on my D drive. I have a folder called printer firmware, and then I have a folder called 207 E3 mini test, and I work out of that folder. And as I make changes to this, I then merge it back into the GitHub, and then commit it to the branch. So I try to work off of a separate branch, and then I do a pull request against the main branch. So you can see I also have 2x testing. But yeah. But I'm willing to bet other people are going to have issues. Now, the thing is, you could compile, and I don't recommend doing this. I think it's underscore 512K. Yeah, so if you do this, okay, there's no STM32 F103 RCT6s with 512K. They're 256. If you're flashing as a 256 or a 512 instead of a 256, you're running it out of spec and you're going to have problems. Potentially dangerous, and I'm not just trying to scare people. I'm saying this because Scott, the lead Marlin developer, has told me that they've been getting reports of people having their boards lock up and the heaters are on, meaning thermal runaway prevention isn't going to do anything. So, but you can see why people do this once we see how much memory it is. So literally just adding this underscore 512K here will make it build for 512K of memory, but this is not safe. And that's a fact. That's not my opinion, because these are not actual 512K chips. If you don't believe me, so if we look up, it's really simple. So you do STM32 F, and you can see I've searched already. So F103 RCT6, that's what's on these. So really easy. We can go to Mouser, Mouser.com, reputable component supplier in the US here and abroad. So you can see here, manufacturer part number STM32 F103 RCT6. If you look at your BigTreeTech boards, if you have one, you'll see this on one line and the RCT6 on the second line. If we look here, right here, program memory size 256K. That's what you have. You also only have 48K of RAM. Now, there's another part number in this same family called the RET6, which is what Creality is using. So if I go there and go to the RET6, I'm going to go back just to show you guys the cost difference because it's like negligible. So right here, program memory size 512K, and you go from 48K of memory, okay, to 64. So you get more memory for program and more memory for RAM, okay? Same processor, basically everything else is the same, it's just different memory. So these are the ones, these are the RET6s that didn't fully pass QC on all their memory and RAM, okay? So the bad part gets disabled, and then they get sold as these lower end ones. Now you're like, okay, well, what is that, $1 or $2? I already said I kind of spoiled it. So you can see here pricing breakdown. Now, BigTreeTech is probably getting way better pricing than what Mouser can offer because Mouser is in the US. So if we go side by side here, like BigTreeTech has to be ordering these in the thousands of units, okay? So you're getting quantity discounts at that point. So at one, it's $1.60 more, okay? But once you start getting into the higher quantities here, we're talking less than $1. So let's see here, and this is just Mouser, okay? They're getting these are made in China, so they're probably even getting better pricing. Oh god, I fucked that up. So less than $1 is what they're having your memory for. They could put the RET6s on here. There's no reason they couldn't. They could literally just start shipping these with the RET6s, and it would cost them less than $1. Probably way less than this. I think when I was looking at LCSC, their pricing was even lower. But literally, like, they're definitely ordering in thousands of quantities, and even going off Mouser, that's an 82-cent difference. So you could have double the memory on your board for 2 cents. Now, if you can do surface mount, you probably could swap it, but you'd have to get the bootloader file. I mean, it's a lot of work for a cheap board. But you could swap the chip, but obviously your average person is going to have the equipment or the skills to do that. Or you could just buy a board that has the bigger memory, like the Easy board. Or even Creality's boards. Creality's boards have this chip on it, the RET6. BigTreeTech boards have the cheaper one. So, yay, cost cutting. But you can see here, the memory, when you compile for 512, is a lot more, but it's not stable. That's the problem. So we don't ship our firmware with that. Yeah, their BigTreeTech, as far as I know, their firmware, their official firmware, is still shipping them. Let's see. Marlin has example configs. So let's look at Marlin's example configs. View configurations and downloads. Examples. I believe they have Creality Ender 3. Yeah, they have examples here. So let's see here. Oh, they don't have the platform IO files in here. So the person would have to modify that. Okay, well, let's look at BigTreeTech's GitHub. Does it work?
Yeah.
I have no idea if that works. That printer's been sitting here. Joel's playing with an ANET ET, or ANET A2. I would use the term work loosely with that thing. That one is probably literally a fire starter. That's an old ANET. All right, platform.io.ini. Their official firmware, if you use their firmware, is set up for 512. So their official firmware is not safe. That's for the 2. Let's look at the 1.2. Platform.io.ini. Again, 512, not safe. Let's look at their 1.0. I'm willing to bet it's 512 as well. And still 512. So, yup. But anyways, okay, so that's knocked out. Well, while I'm streaming, let's test some other configs. So we also got the 4.2. The 4.2.2, so let me do a 207 4.2.2 test, which is the Creality 4.2.2 boards. I don't know what they have on, I don't know what CPU, I don't know anybody who's buying those shit Feistek boards. I don't know how you make a board worse than BigTreeTech, but Feistek somehow did it. I never hear anybody talking about those. Oh, you're talking about the firmware, the Cheetah firmware. Okay, sorry, because there's a Cheetah board, which is somehow even worse than the BigTreeTech boards. But okay, sorry, the Cheetah firmware. They should change that. Like, that's a liability issue, potentially, if they're in the U.S. or a country that has frivolous laws. All right, let's see if we're going to compile correctly with no issues on the 4.2.2 board. I have a feeling, I'm just going to assume they all are going to fail compile.
Both power supplies actually work.
Both of them?
Yeah.
What was wrong with the other one?
User error.
What was it? The switch?
I forgot to put that switch on.
Oh, well, that one's probably better.
Yeah, this one looks better quality.
Yeah. They're both crap, though.
Yeah.
How many people do we actually have watching this stream? I need to see. How many people are watching me talk about code? You nerds. Fucking nerds. Let's see, how many people? I'm going into my YouTube studio while we're waiting for this to compile. Holy crap, it compiled on the first go. Look at that. Hey, look at that. Yeah, so it's still a larger footprint than the Easy board. And you gotta remember, the Creality boards do not have the UART and Trinamic driver controls, so their program is going to take up less memory. But it's still more than the Easy board. So the Easy board was like 177,000K with all the Trinamic stuff added in. This is still over 200K. But that's good. That's compiling. Might get lucky. This might be a fairly painless update to go to 207. Which would be good, because I've got a lot of stuff I need to work on. Oh, we're already demonetized. Look at that, because I said a naughty word. We're already demonetized. Oh, thank you, Derek. Yep, add suitability. Oh, let's just we'll request the review. This you can swear occasionally. I don't know what their limit is, but come on, it's not flagged. It's not set for children. It's set for 18 and up. Yeah, we got 40 concurrent viewers. So, all right, yeah, okay, so this compiled well. Let's make sure there's no issues with this. So, like, this is what I have to do. When we do a firmware release, I literally go through and check to make sure everything compiles. I can assume that's going to work on the board. I do try to test on an actual machine here, but eventually once we get so many machines, we just make sure everything compiles correctly once we've already verified that prior versions work on printers. And then if someone has issues, then we'll look into it then. But like 99.9% of the time, if it compiles and we've already worked with that firmware base and config, it's usually going to work. Okay, so that is working. All right, the ABL settings are working. Let's make sure it compiles for the V2, because the Ender 3 V2 shares it. Let's go ahead. I'm assuming this is probably going to throw some errors, because this has the DWIN LCD. How are the new Creality Silent boards? They're quiet, and that's about it. They do have more memory. If I didn't have the Easy board, okay, and I had to choose between their stock boards and their silent boards and the BigTreeTech boards, I would actually go for the Creality boards, because I know the Creality build quality is a little bit better than BigTreeTech, and they have the better CPUs. So, you don't get as many features, but at the end of the day, once it's in your printer and you're printing, you're not going to know the difference. That actually compiled. Look at that. 207 might be a pretty easy update. But if you got the money, our Easy board's the way to go. Like, if you just want something that works and has a lot of features, and you don't have to go through and do all this, if you have the Easy board, you can literally, I don't know if you guys know this, some of you guys do. You go to easyfirmware.th3dstudio.com and set up your firmware. You can either upload your config file, you can edit it right online, okay? Or you can literally walk through a wizard, okay? And then it'll compile for you. It's fantastic. Okay, I'm not actually going to submit this because I don't need to, but you can see here, it literally compiles it for you. And if you get errors like this guy got some sort of error, you can actually go ahead and pull the log and see why. So why did this guy... Oh, unknown value. So he didn't uncomment his printer. If I pull this down, let's see. He didn't uncomment any printer. So, but... things you get with the Easy board that you don't get with the other ones. Oh yeah, the 115's extruders burn up all the time. People think that I'm talking out of my ass when I say that their boards are not designed to handle the heat from the trinamic drivers, but everybody thinks I just want to sell more Easy boards instead of maybe thinking that, hey, maybe there's actually truth there. I would not buy the 115. The 115 is garbage. Their 422s and the 427s seem to be a little bit better, but I haven't actually tested them, so I can't be like vouch for it. Don't go buy one and be like, you said it was okay. I have not used them in depth. Okay, so I can't vouch for them, but just looking at them, the build quality, they seem better than the 115s. The 115s were terrible. They put trinamic drivers on 2-layer boards with 1 ounce copper, and the drivers overheat, which I said they were going to, and they have been, like you obviously saw, but people are like, oh, the only reason Tim's saying that is because he wants to sell more Easy boards. No, it's because it's a fact. If anything, the crappy boards just help us sell more Easy boards, because people buy the crappy boards, and then they burn out, and maybe they'll buy another crappy board, and then it'll burn out, and then they'll be like, wow, I already spent more than half of what an Easy board was. I could have just had an Easy board and been printing. The 113s are fine. The 115s with the trinamics are the ones that I'd stay away from. This is a 113 right here that still works. This thing bangs around in my drawer. I use this for testing. So if you don't care about having quiet, there are 113s, the 112s, the 114s with the 4098 drivers. They're loud. They don't have much memory, but they work. But when you take a board that was designed for 4098s that put out not that much heat, and you slap trinamics on it that generate 3 to 4 times the heat, the trinamics are going to burn out. These boards were not designed to have trinamics on them, but Creality put it on here anyways. That's the problem. These are decent boards. We have these in our ABS printers in the print farm, and they've been running for over a year in the enclosure. So if you don't care about having a lot of noise, these get the job done. That's the bottom line. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you these are garbage, throw them out of your printer. No, these get the job done. The 113s, the 114s, the ones with the Allegro drivers, the not silent drivers. These do work. It's the ones with the trinamics on them that are the problem. Because these boards are not designed for that thermal load that the trinamics put on there. We're looking pretty good here, actually. Okay, so the 422 compiled. I will put that board in this printer, but obviously this is running a test print. I'm gonna have quite a few benchies today. Make a new copy. I'm gonna do 207.427 test. So let's do a test compile for that. Let me grab a copy of those. The G-Tech 810M has 4988s too, so it's going to be about the same loudness as a Creality machine. Alright, I'm just copying files off screen here to test the 427 build. Alright, let's do open folder, 427, hit open. It doesn't matter. Like I've said this before, the Trinamics, and if you don't believe me, look up the Trinamic datasheet. They'll say the same thing I'm saying here. They sink their heat through the bottom of the chip. You need to have a PCB with 4 layers with extra copper, aka 4-layer 2-ounce copper. That's what our EasyBoard has. Because the board is a heatsink. When you put a heatsink on top of the driver, you're putting a heatsink on top of a piece of plastic that is insulating between the silicon and the heatsink. So plastic doesn't conduct heat very well. So you're relying on the heatsink conducting through the plastic to get the heat away from the driver. Now, adding more cooling could potentially prolong the life of the board. I think you would be better off putting a heatsink on the rear of the board and then putting a fan facing that. That would be better than having a heatsink on top. But any extra air you can get is going to help prolong the life of that board if you have one of the Creality boards with the Trinamic drivers on there that don't have the copper. Joel, I have no idea the state of that printer, so have fun with that. I literally bought that used off a guy online, and it's been sitting here for a year. Okay, so the 427 compiled. I would expect this would pass compile because it's pretty similar to the 422. The 422 and the 427 are basically firmware-wise identical except for some pin changes. Oh, hey, Griffin's in here. Go ahead, Griffin. Griffin, you're in. You should jump in Discord if you can. I have Discord piped in. Also, if you guys, there's a link to the Discord voice chat in the video description. If you want to jump in and talk to me, that's why I have headphones on. Is so if someone jumps in chat, I can actually hear you. And everybody on stream will also hear too. So anything you say in that Discord voice channel will also get piped into the stream, meaning it will come out on the channel. It's going to be on here for forever until YouTube decides to kick us off because I said something bad or something. I don't know. It's a crazy world we live in. Do we have a head-to-head comparison? I have a fun video where I put way more current through them than they're rated for. But that's about it. I mean, I thought about doing a comparison table, but then people are going to complain that we're talking shit because we have a comparison chart. I would take, in terms of the boards, I would take the Creality. I would sooner buy one of Creality's more limited feature set boards, like the 427, over BigTreeTech's boards, because Creality does use a little bit better components. There you go. Hi, Griffin. I think my head's... How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Not too bad. You might want to put your mic volume up a little bit, because I'm just looking at the... Okay, I'm muting you on the stream. You just completely screwed... Oh, God. Griffin. You are killing my ears right now. I muted you on the channel. Oh, God. What are you doing? Stop molesting your mic. Are you good? Oh, no. Stop ruffling your mic. It sounds like you're scratching. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It's like he's eating his...
Yeah, there we go. Okay, I unmuted, so we're back in. What's up, Jim? You working hard today?
Can you tell?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, how's it going out there in Utah?
How's it going, what? What was that, Jim? All
Is
right.
that better?
Oh, that's a lot better.
Yeah, my headset's just not playing nice the last couple of weeks, so sorry about that.
Yeah, just put yourself on like push to talk because it sounds like you're using your built-in mic on your computer.
Yeah, I'll put it on push to talk.
Yeah, that'd be good. We don't want to kill everybody's ears like you did mine. That like scared the crap out of me. So Griffin, if anybody doesn't know, the other guy whose voice is being piped in right now. So we got Griffin and Jim from the Edge of Tech. Griffin is actually our engineer here, so he's a contractor for us, and he runs his own little engineering thing called Pocket Engineering. Am I saying that right? I always like doubt myself.
Yeah, you're saying it right.
I only ask because people butcher my last name all the time.
No, I totally get that. I'm in the same boat.
Okay, to be more specific, what are the features on the Creality board not present on the Easy board? No, there's not. So the disadvantage of the Creality board versus the Easy board, if we're talking like Creality's 427 board, which is like their drop-in replacement, which I would call a competitor to the Easy board because they're only selling that separately. So they have the TMC 2225s, which are just 2208s in a different package, so same drivers essentially. The problem is Creality has them wired in what's called standalone mode, meaning you cannot set the driver current. Clara, go. You cannot set the driver current from the printer firmware like you can on the Easy board, and even the BigTreeTech board you can set the driver current. So you have to adjust your VREF, you actually have to get into your printer with a multimeter and a screwdriver and manually adjust the current. The drivers are also stuck in what's called stealth chop mode, which means you can't take it out of spread cycle mode or take it out of stealth chop mode to go into spread cycle mode if you need more torque. And you also can't change any of the stepping rates or anything. So you're basically stuck in stealth chop mode all the time with 1/16 stepping and 256 steps interpolated, which is fine for most applications. The problem is some extruders, especially geared ones, you need to go into stealth, or you need to go out of stealth chop mode and into spread cycle mode, which is what Trinamic actually recommends for all extruder applications, which is how we have our firmware set up. But you can't do that on Creality's boards because you have no communication between the drivers and the printer's firmware. There's no physical connection between those driver chips to send and receive data. Like, obviously they're connected to send the stepping information, like, you know, the direction and the steps, that's connected, but there's no UART communication. There's no serial data going back and forth between the driver and the firmware. So there's no physical connection there. So it's not something that can be enabled. Why they didn't at least have that connected there so you could enable it later, I don't know. They took the time to make a whole new board. Why didn't they just have that trace onto an I/O pin and you could just have it there and not use it? I don't know why they didn't, though. So that's the only drawback, because the Creality board has the bigger STM32 chip on it for memory and RAM, but then they left the drivers in standalone mode. Now, the only reason I can think they did that is because when you do that, you can now interchange like the 2225s with the 4982s or the HR 4982s. And same thing with the 4988s. So we see the HR 4988s on the version 422 boards, and we also see the TMC 2228s in standalone mode on the 422 boards. So that's the only reason I can think of that they did that, so they could have one PCB and be able to use different drivers on either one for like a silent board and a non-silent board, because that does cut cost down going with the drivers that are not the Trinamics, because Trinamics are pretty expensive when you compare them to other drivers. But that's like the main thing, and it may not seem like that big of a deal, but when you get a board from Creality, they don't set the VREFs for your machine. They don't even set them for general stuff. Like the 427 board I got, the VREF, when I put my multimeter on it, was 1.7 volts for all four of the drivers, meaning my motors were burning hot, and the only way to change that is I had to actually flip my printer over while it's on with power applied to it, go in there with a multimeter and probe out on top of the actual potentiometers that you adjust, read it, adjust it, read it, adjust it, until Jesus, that's loud. Speaking of drivers being loud, there's an ANET with some 4988s going. You have to physically adjust it, and they're not going to set those. And let's say, so like you have Ender 3s, Ender 5s, CR10s, those boards can go in all of those printers, but each one's going to require a different VREF. If you set it too low, you lose steps. You set it too high, the motors can overheat. So, whereas with the Easy board, and even the BigTreeTech boards, because they have the UART control over the drivers, you can literally just go on your LCD and turn the knob and change how much current your driver is getting. So if your motor's running too hot, you can drop it down. If it's losing steps, you can turn it up. You can't do that with the Creality boards. And that's a pretty big drawback. But it's one of those things where luckily, once you set your VREFs, then you can just use the printer. You're probably not going to change it. Now, there are some people saying it's been pretty universally accepted in the Marlin firmware community that if you have Trinamic drivers running in standalone mode, you cannot run linear advance on them because the drivers just shut down. Now, there are people playing with like minimum pulse timings to try to get around that, but I have not been successfully able to run linear advance on any Trinamic drivers in standalone mode, including the 2209s. It takes a little while longer for them to shut down and freak out. But I have had the 2209 shut down on me. But the 2208s, especially if they're in standalone mode and in spread cycle mode, or not spread cycle, stealth chop mode, which is what standalone mode is in typically. If you run linear advance, the driver just shuts down and stops actually extruding. So if you have no control over that driver to take it out of stealth chop mode, you can't run linear advance on those boards. That includes the 422 with the 2208s, the 115 with the 2208s, any of the Creality boards with the 2208s or 2225s. You try to run linear advance on them, the extruder motor just stops moving after a little while. And you can't change the driver settings because there's no communication to adjust the parameters of the driver between the CPU and the driver. It doesn't physically exist. So, and that's not even touching on like the build quality. Like the build quality on our Easy board is a lot higher than any of the Chinese boards out there. We're using all name brand components like Panasonic capacitors, Phoenix contacts for the screw terminals. We use Kemet and Vishay for all the other little surface mount stuff. We get all of our parts from reputable suppliers like Mauser and DigiKey for like the processors, the drivers, that kind of stuff. So we're putting a lot better quality parts on there, and then our PCBs are 4 layers, 2-ounce copper on every layer, and as far as I know, none of these other companies are doing that, and why that's important is for the thermal dissipation of the heat from the stepper drivers, and your MOSFETs too for your bed and your hot end, and the ones we use, those are rated for up to 50 amps for the bed or the hot end. They use the same chip, so we're overkill on a lot of the parts on there, which means it's going to run cooler.
Do you want me to turn that off?
Holy shit. It sounds like a vacuum. Sorry. What did you turn on?
I just started heating it up and the fans cranked
Oh,
up.
is this the... Oh, it's probably this fan.
Lower.
Yeah, it is. Jesus. Can you guys hear that?
I can definitely hear it.
Holy shit. Okay, so this is the MKS Robin mini firmware for the KP3. That passed compile. I'm really surprised that the ones with these other screens actually compiled on the first go. I guess they didn't change too much. Did you touch that fan? Is that yeah? So it's that layer fan? That is loud as shit. You could work on one of the G-Tech ones if you want. That sounds like a vacuum cleaner. That's a layer fan on the ANET A2. Holy crap.
That was a layer fan?
That was a layer fan.
What the heck is wrong with that thing?
It's an ANET. This. Alright, so we're looking pretty good. I just want to test this firmware on the actual printer more, obviously. Let's see here. I mean, this is going well. I think I hit all the... Oh, hey, it finished. It's my Banshee. Yeah, we're under extruding a little, which is to be expected with the stock extruder. It's the crappy plastic one. I'm probably gonna actually put a aluminum one on here at the very least, because it's under extruding. It printed nice though, despite the under extrusion. Let's see here. I'll just move over to this one. Here we go. So there we go. You can see there's a little bit. I think that's just. I don't think that's the actual. No, they're even. It's just coloring differences in the Banshee, but came out pretty decent. You can see some under extrusion here on the little box area here and on the smokestack. You might not be able to see it, but.
Hey Tim, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Jim.
I'm back.
You're back. Did you actually have to go work?
Well, I'm gonna in a second, but quick question while I'm listening here. I had to disconnect and reconnect because I was talking. I was like, he's either ignoring me or he doesn't hear me.
Oh no, I did not hear you.
That's okay. I noticed that I wasn't highlighting when I talked to you as well, but for those out there who are looking at different boards, especially the Easy board, which I highly suggest as videos and know, what makes it future proof going forward? So maybe you can answer that, because I mean a lot of people look at it and their prices are a little higher than normal.
Oh yeah, they're definitely higher.
Are much more quality wise, but what makes it future proof? Say in a couple years or maybe a year down the road, I get a new printer. I mean, I know the answer to this, but can you explain, like, hey, I can take this board, drop it into another printer that it supports, and keep moving with it?
Yeah, you can. Or I mean, I've got printers. My CR10, I've got, which is years old. But the main thing is that you've got one. It's going to last that long. I've got boards here that are almost 2 years old that are prototypes. The one in my Ender 3 is over 2 years old at this point. Still going, and I use that printer a couple times a week at the very least. That's my go-to one. But the main thing is, because Marlin is, as we saw here, and this is something I just literally discovered today, I didn't realize how much of a difference in the memory utilization of for the LPC chip versus the STM32s. We can fit a lot of options on the firmware for the Easy board because we have that 512K of memory, actual 512K of memory, not just forcing it on. Versus, you know, like even on the STM32s, because it looks like Marlin's a little less efficient with utilizing the memory on there, we can fit newer features on. So as Marlin puts on more and more features, we can actually put those onto our board. So if they come out with a new feature that, you know, really improves print quality, or it's just, you know, a cool new thing you want to try out, we actually have the horsepower on that board and the space to use those new features. So that's kind of why we went overkill with it, because if you look at when we compile, we're not even using half the memory on that processor. So we have that headroom to actually expand too, because, you know, it can last for a while, but if you can't keep adding on new features or updating to the latest versions of the firmware, you know, at a certain point it's going to be like, this is nice, but I want these new features. Well, you can have those new features on that board. That's really what it comes down to. I'm not sure what you mean, Rich. Rich says, I bought a BigTreeTech SKR Turbo. I have an Ender 5 Plus. You're going to have fun putting that in. That's that's all I can say. I hope you understand how to configure Marlin. The thing on those boards is the MOSFETs have quality issues. Sometimes you get good ones, sometimes you get bad ones. I have a 1.4 turbo in my AM8 build, which is a switch here in the enclosure behind me, and I'm about to change that out for an MKS S-Gen LV2 because I keep having it lock up on me. I don't know why. I've updated the firmware, checked all the connections, and the thing keeps locking up. But I can tell you, don't expect any help from BigTreeTech in getting it set up. They will not help you get it set up. You're going to be posting in their forums or Facebook groups trying to get help with it. All right. Let me see. What other features do I need to test on here? Do I have the auto tune? I don't. So let me update this because I added in the PID settings here. Before I push this out, I want to obviously do more printing and do more testing. And I think I'm going to take this opportunity to optimize some of the menus because Marlin has a ton of options in the menus, and most of them you don't even use. I don't even use, and I'm someone who's a more advanced user. So this should have, yeah, this has the edit. So let me update this. Let me switch back over here. Main monitor, there we go. All right, so I should just have, I got my easy out sensor connected and the Ender 3. That should be it. Let's go ahead and compile. Oh, someone's here apparently. I don't know who that is. There's some random guy at our door.
Could be the census.
Huh?
Could be the census. They keep coming to my door.
He's got a business card. My Google Home pops up the camera. My doorbell camera is, I'm just keeping an eye. You never know these days. So now those of you who haven't flashed firmware on the easy board or any of the new 32-bit boards where you can flash on the SD card, turn your printer completely off and make sure the LCD is off. Then put the card in with the firmware file on it and turn it on. Make sure it's completely off. Yeah, we're not gonna do any more super late streams. That's not gonna be a thing anymore because I did that late stream the other night and I was completely screwed Sunday. I was so tired. Oh shit, I just realized I left my humidor open because the humidity was too high and I'm trying to get it at the right thing. And now it's probably too low. Fuck. Yep. Son of beach. Luckily, I don't have anything in there. I'm just getting it set up.
Are cigars?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, I also found out. So there's an ESP8266 in there with a DHT22 temp sensor, and apparently I got clone temp sensors, and the humidity reading is off by 10%. So I ordered new ones, and I got genuine ones. So clones are bad, okay? Why is this taking so long to build? Visual Studio, what are you doing? Let's reload. See, I would normally use our own easy firmware site, but this version is not on there yet because I'm still testing it. First world problems.
Is this like a new build version?
Yeah,
overall?
yeah. So, like yesterday, 207 for Marlin came out. So this is built on 207.
Very nice.
So this is not even 24 hours old, and I'm already getting it integrated. But yeah, no, I recently got into cigars. I always smoke them occasionally, like a couple times a year, but now, here, Griffin, look at my... I have little Boveda packs in here right now. This is a airtight container, but I have an actual temperature-controlled humidor.
Yeah, the stream's just a little behind. Hasn't
Yeah.
popped up yet.
Yeah, I got probably about 60 or 70 sticks in here at this point.
Very nice.
Yes. It's our... Why is this taking so long to build? What the hell is going on with my computer?
Oh yeah, I see it.
Why is this...
Very nice. Yeah.
So now when you come up here next time, we can enjoy one.
I know. I hope
Or
this,
two. Or three. Or a couple.
this virus crap would go away, so I could make the trek up there.
Why is this taking... Oh, you know what? I wonder if GitHub throttled me. Because I'm pretty sure this is pulling down these libraries. Yeah, they're pulling down from GitHub. I wonder if I got throttled. Have you ever had that? That's a real thing. Where you get throttled. Oh no, it allowed me to pull down a zip file. Why is this taking so long to build?
I thought it really throttled you when you tried to push up.
No, I've had it throttle me I've had it throttle me a couple of times. Let me try this. Let me just completely blow away the firmware. Maybe the file got corrupt or something. I just compiled for this. Oh, oh no, I don't have that synchronizing anymore. Wait, cannot open because this is open in another folder. What the hell? I closed VS Code. There's something fucky going on here.
Demonetization.
Yeah, it already got flagged. It already got flagged, yeah. We're already, whatever, fuck it. What is tying up the file? I can't... See, and this is why our easy firmware site is great, because you don't have to deal with this bullshit. But when you're doing test compiles, you don't have a choice. Let's try this again. Let me just make a new folder. I hope I don't have to stop the stream. Do I have auto stop? I don't have... Oh, if I stop this, won't... No, I think if I reboot, it'll come back. Let's see if it'll work. Something happened with VS Code. It's like hung in the background or something. Things you don't have to deal with. Expect it. You know what? People want to talk shit about Microsoft, but Windows 10 has actually been pretty damn good to me.
Did you experience the big Teams drop yesterday?
No, we didn't have any. I didn't lose connection at all.
Oh, really? I got logged out of the internal one for us, and then my school as well.
Oh.
It was a whole mess.
Oh, rip. Press F in chat. All right, let's see if this will work now. I'm surprised. I'm surprised you actually will smoke a cigar, Griffin. I figured you'd be too straight edge.
Oh no, I don't smoke them often. Maybe like 3 times a year, but
yeah,
I mean,
that's what I was, and then I like looked it up, and basically, according to even the FDA, like if you're like a 1 to 2 a day, there's no negligible increase in anything. So I was
you're not really taking it in.
Yeah, you're not inhaling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would not feel good.
Yeah. Oh God, no. Okay, so now it's okay. Let's see. Is it gonna go? But yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoy it. I got like. What's up, Jim?
I said, and we all know the FDA is correct.
Oh yes, totally. I might actually have to reboot here because this is still hanging. I know Jim will partake in one next time we hang out.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I actually got for $30 a month. I'll give these guys a shout out. It's Cigars International. 8 sticks for $30 a month, and they actually sent some really nice ones. And they have for $20 a month they'll give you 4. But I was like, for $10 more, it's like $3.70 a stick.
Nice.
Like, why not? Even if I only like half of them.
I think you should hang one from one of your drones and smoke it. Like while it's.
That's a great idea.
That would end up with me having a drone in my face. You guys stay in the chat. Everybody stay on the stream. I'm gonna restart real quick, or actually, I'm just gonna log out because that should kill any problem. There's a process hung up in the background somewhere, and I don't know what. I don't know if I can.
It's gonna pull down the stream though.
It'll pull down the stream for a sec, but it should come back. I should be able to just load up OBS again and come back. But unless I can find out what process is actually doing it. Like basically a process got hung in the background. Wait, hang on. Wait. Is it code? Oh no, all the code processes close when I close VS Code. Yeah, there's. Oh wait. It's probably Python. Hang on, python.exe. Let's see if that's it. That was probably it. Hang on. Let's try it again. Oh, that might have been it. I think Python hung. I don't think it was VS Code. I think it was probably Python, actually. Success. Let's try it one more time. I'm pretty sure it was Python. Was it Python? Nope. because it should have gone by now. Hang on, start streaming. Does that work? Oh God. Let's see here. Let's see. Discord. Oh wait, no. I need to go studio. Let's see. Am I back? All right. Let's see if this will fix it.
Hey, he's back.
Hey, let's see. Did it pick the stream back up?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
Um,
I say it should pick
No.
it back up. Let's see. Let's see if it'll compile now.
Was it Python just hanging?
I don't
It's kinda
know.
weird.
If not, I might have to do a full reboot. But usually logging off will fix
maybe
it.
if you had a real computer.
What, like something with an AMD in it?
Yeah, it's probably because we use a Ryzen.
No, so it's still acting weird. Cause this should, I'm gonna give it a sec, but it should go faster than this. Usually it just
If
goes.
Steven was here, he would recommend a Mac for you.
Ugh,
Oh, I run a Mac too. Yeah,
I would rather die.
that'll be my next computer. Don't you worry.
You just love pissing away money, don't you?
No, I just need a laptop that works. So
My my Lenovo works great. That's what I have for my laptop. I got one of the Lenovo's with an 8th Gen i7 in it.
yeah, I have a Ryzen 5 HP Envy. And the Ryzen's great, but the rest of the computer sucks.
I'm wondering.
So,
I'm wondering if it's.
man,
See, I buy the business grade laptops and desktops, though. That might be why I don't have as many issues.
that's fair. Yeah, I mean, I just use my desktop for like.
Okay, so here's a
99%.
platform.io file, or the. Like, why is this? Let's kill that task, kill the shell, clear it out. See, platform.io IntelliSense rebuild is still going. Is this hanging it up? Why is this? It's doing something. Like, do you see that? It says notifications, platform.io IntelliSense rebuild. I wonder if that's why it's hanging up. That's frustrating. All right, let's see if it compiles now.
I never heard of Python hanging, so I'd be surprised if it was that. Or at least.
I mean, it is open source, so
That's fair.
I'm just saying. Open source software never has bugs.
Not even once, no.
No. It's still like. How is this? MGLR3Ts. I'm gonna see, what is this? Oh, this is for my Space Mouse Enterprise. What is hanging? Logging out should have killed all the background processes. Alright, well, I'm just gonna do a full reboot. Screw it. I'll be back.
Have you tried turning it off and back
I'm
on
doing it
again?
right now, Jim. Then I'm gonna call you for tech support.